Thanks, Sophie. You're watching South East Today. Our top story tonight, a pivotal political moment. We hear from our MPs ahead of tomorrow's vote on assisted dying.
Most of my constituents now are sending in requests for me to vote against, so that's one factor.
This bill has lots of checks and balances in it, so I'm very confident in voting for this bill.
An organised crime gang is sentenced for attempting to smuggle millions of pounds worth of cocaine through the port of Sheerness.
It is great. It was brilliant. What a laugh we had, eh?
Time to jump off the roller coaster, says Sussex's Joe Marler, one of rugby's great characters, ahead of his last ever match tomorrow. And Christmas sparkle at Wakehurst as the Glow Wild Lantern Trail officially opens. We've been to take a look. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Ellie Crisell. Tomorrow, our MPs will make one of the most profound decisions of their political careers: how to vote on the assisted dying bill. If it becomes law, the bill will give adults with a terminal illness the right to seek medical help to end their lives. Politicians will be given a free vote. That means they can follow their own conscience without having to follow party lines. On the eve of a significant day, our political editor Charlotte Wright has spoken to South East MPs on both sides of the debate.
Before becoming an MP, Kevin McKenna was an intensive care nurse, working with some of the sickest patients in hospital. He believes that terminally ill people should be able to ask for medical assistance to help end their life, and will be voting for a change in the law this week.
I've seen a lot of people, and obviously with great palliative care, but also just good standard care, have really dignified and humane deaths. And then I've seen the opposite. I've seen some absolutely terrible, horrendous experiences. I have to be blunt. People have gone through lots of not just discomfort and pain, but real distress towards the end. It's that distress and that pain that really I want to see us being able to work beyond.
On Friday, MPs will debate the Terminally Ill Adults End of Life Bill. It says that anyone over the age of 18 who wants to end their life must have the mental capacity to make the choice and be deemed to have expressed a clear, settled and informed wish, free from coercion or pressure. They must be expected to die within 6 months and satisfy 2 independent doctors that they are eligible, with the final decision made by a High Court judge.
Order, order.
Unlike most votes in the House of Commons, members will not be expected to follow their party lines, meaning they can decide based on their own conscience. The Canterbury MP says she won't support it.
I'm really concerned that particularly disabled people can feel coerced, can feel that they're a burden. Most of my constituents now are sending in requests for me to vote against, so that's one factor. But I have serious concerns about vulnerable people, people who may potentially be coerced into doing something they're not necessarily wanting to do.
Others are arguing that because the bill has been introduced by a backbench MP, not the government, there isn't enough time to properly debate the issue. The East Thanet MP Polly Billington has signed an amendment to the bill calling for an independent review and public consultation first. But the MP behind it says there are plenty more opportunities to scrutinise it.
If anyone uses any sort of parliamentary processes to frustrate that, I think that would be wrong. And I think it would show Parliament in a really bad light. What I hope happens on Friday is we have a very thorough, robust, respectful and compassionate debate which shows Parliament at its very best.
A number of MPs in the South East say they're yet to make up their mind. But tomorrow the time will come for those in this building to make one of the most profound decisions of their political careers. Charlotte Wright, BBC South East Today, Westminster.
Our reporter Sarah Smith has been following the story too. Sarah, what more do we know about how our MPs are expected to vote?
Well, from the number that told us which way they were going to vote, and not many of them did, it was exactly the same number for and against. By far the biggest number was those, though, who'd said they hadn't yet made up their minds, possibly waiting for that 5-hour debate tomorrow. We've heard some very personal testimonies about how people are making up their minds, whether they're for or against this bill. Some MPs have held sessions with their constituents, and tonight the MP for Dartford, Jim Dixon, is holding a discussion, and he's got someone from Care Not Killing and someone from Dignity in Dying, so both sort of ends of the debate, if you like, talking talking to him before he makes up his mind, he says. Now, if a majority of MPs do vote this through tomorrow, there will still be many weeks and months at least of debates and votes before it becomes law.
Sarah, thank you. Sentencing has begun this afternoon of an organised crime gang who tried to smuggle tens of millions of pounds worth of cocaine into the UK via the port of Sheerness. The drugs were hidden in a shipment of bananas, but the gang were arrested by armed police before they could move them on from the Kent port. Well, Piers Hopkirk joins us live now from Maidstone Crown Court. Piers, 7 men are being sentenced for their role in this plot. Just talk us through what happened.
Well, I suppose, Ellie, we've learned a little bit more today about how this organised crime gang operated and ultimately how they were taken down. The prosecution told the court how this huge consignment was placed onto a ship in Costa Rica bound for Sheerness, and it was a huge amount. It was more than a metric ton of cocaine with a street value of more than £100 million. Of course, once that ship arrived at Sheerness, the gang had to access the dock, and they did that by paying off a corrupt security guard, a 30-year-old man called Sam Elphick. So when the gang wanted to go to Sheerness to pick up the consignment, Elphick effectively waved them through. He was their inside man.
But Piers, the court heard that there was a surprise in store once they got onto the dock.
Absolutely. Little did they know they'd been under police surveillance for 2 months. The police swooped and arrested all the gang. Now, 7 men in total are up for sentencing. They're Joel McCaughey, Darren Laurie, Kyle Davidson, Ian Woodward, Michael Turner and Danny Laird. They all pleaded guilty to conspiring to import Class A drugs. Elphick admitted participating in the activities of an organised crime group. The sentencing continues tomorrow.
Piers, thank you. 2 men from Thanet have been jailed for a total of 20 years after a knife attack on a stranger at a Kent station. Police arrested Darryl Brown from Westgate-on-Sea and Lewis Day from Ramsgate after they chased the man at Whitstable station and left him with life-threatening stab wounds. Their victim had been trying to return a phone the men's friend had left behind, but they mistakenly believed he was stealing it. A company has been fined £1.6 million for health and safety failures after a workman was crushed to death in Eastbourne. Jack Phillips was hit by an object that fell from a crane in 2019. An investigation found that Brand Energy and Infrastructure Services UK Limited failed to plan the lifting operation properly or put safe exclusion zones in place. A man from Hastings who attacked a 77-year-old, leaving him with multiple fractures, has been jailed for 8 years. Joseph Charlotte smashed his way into the pensioner's motorhome and then attacked him when he phoned the police. BBC South East has learned that hundreds of patients are stuck in hospital beds in Sussex despite being medically fit to leave. Well, our health correspondent Mark Norman joins me right away. Mark, you've been told by NHS staff about this issue of so-called bed blocking. It's turning into a problem.
Yeah, a massive problem this particular winter. At the start of this week, there were more than 700 patients stuck in hospital beds in Sussex despite being medically fit to leave. That breaks down as 73 people in mental health hospitals and 114 people in community hospitals. There were 596 patients in acute hospitals, clinically fit enough for discharge, but who needed some sort of support if they were to leave hospital. That is almost 17% of all the acute hospital space in the county occupied by someone who does not actually need the bed anymore.
Frustration, I suppose, from patients not being able to access what they need and what they want. So there's frustration as well amongst the staff because the system is not working the way that it should. So frustration all round, basically.
So why is this happening? Well, discharging patients from hospital can be problematic. Perhaps the 3 biggest issues are accessing the right sort of social care, finding suitable residential care that's appropriate and acceptable to both patients and families, or there might be inadequate community support for patients. The impact on those patients and the NHS can be considerable. Staying longer than necessary in hospital means there's a higher risk of infections and patients losing mobility and independence. There's also the obvious impact on the availability of hospital beds. That in turn can lead to delays in ambulance handovers and problems with overcrowding in A&E departments.
It reflects, I think, pressures on the wider system. We know that there are staff shortages in social care. There's staff shortages in all the NHS services that are in the community. So these are occupational health, physiotherapy, district nurses. These are all people who help people at home or in nursing homes.
NHS Sussex is the organisation responsible for overseeing the system in the county. It says this is a priority and that it has plans to reduce the number of people stuck in a hospital bed by a third by March next year. And Sussex, of course, is not alone. The numbers will be equally high in Kent and Surrey. And as we enter the difficult winter months, there'll be a huge push to free up as many NHS beds as possible, Ellie.
Mark, thank you. Kent Police are warning motorists not to drive under the influence of drugs or alcohol in the run-up to Christmas. They arrested almost 400 people in the county last December, with anyone convicted facing a driving ban and up to 6 months in prison. Teachers at 3 sixth form colleges in Sussex have walked out today on the first of 3 one-day strikes over pay. Around 8,000 students have been affected by today's industrial action at Varndene College, Brighton Hove and Sussex Sixth Form College and Colliers in Horsham, with 2 further walkouts planned next week.
We're here today because the new government have made an unfair and discriminatory decision against sixth form college teachers. In the summer, they extended a 5.5% pay rise to primary, secondary and school teachers who teach in school sixth forms and 16 to 19 academies, but they did not extend that funded pay rise to my teaching staff, and that is not good enough.
Well, the government says last month's budget provided an additional £300 million in funding for further education, but sixth form colleges are responsible for setting appropriate pay and managing their own industrial relations. Volunteers have been hard at work today, helping to remove thousands of tree covers from a community woodland in Eastchurch on the Isle of Sheppey. Tens of thousands of trees were planted with protective plastic covers, but they've outgrown them, so they have to be removed and recycled. Jadzia Samuel saw the operation.
13 hectares of woodland with 100,000 trees, each encased in plastic. The trees were planted more than 20 years ago as part of a housing development. At first, they needed the covers to help protect them, but decades on, they've been outgrown.
As part of the development's commitments, they have to build 10% green space, and this would have been part of their 10%. The housing development's just finished recently building, so I think now's sort of the right time. The woodland was one of the first things that went into place. You know, once the tree no longer leaves them, they fall onto the floor, and then they need to be collected. They look unsightly, and it also then helps the woodland thrive if they're not there to block sunlight.
Volunteers have been working to remove roughly 4,000 plastic covers today, filling 18 sacks. This type of plastic isn't recycled by the council, but a local recycling firm has offered to clear it all for free.
We put it through what they call a baler, so it makes big sort of 300 kilo bales, and then we put it on a lorry and it goes up to Sheffield. And then they melt it down, and then it's remade into plastic boarding, covering boarding that's used in the construction industry when they're trying to cover flooring and shelving, all that lot. The good thing about it is once they've used it there, they can then recycle it again and make more boarding out of it, so it's like 100% recycling again and again and again.
Nowadays, the council uses biodegradable tree guards, but this woodland was planted around 20 years ago. And since the plastic has been left on for so long, many of the trunks have rotted and around 10% of the trees have been lost. This is the 4th volunteer day the council has organised, and there are still around 10,000 trees in this public woodland which need clearing. With dozens of locals out today and local businesses joining the effort, there are hopes the woodland will be plastic-free in the next few months.
Well, let's cross live to Jadzia in Minster on the Isle of Sheppey. Hello, Jadzia. You said these have been on the trees for 20 years. Some of them have even rotted under the plastic covering. Why is it taking so long to take them off?
Well, that's right. This plastic has been in the woodland for around 20 years. At first, of course, it was needed, the casing, to protect the young saplings from the elements. But since then, the past few decades, the Sheffield Borough Council have said it's been a case of resources, not having the people to remove these thousands of plastic casings or the facilities to actually dispose of it afterwards. It's difficult to recycle, so it would have just ended up in landfill or been incinerated with other waste. So it wasn't until CDDL, the company, said that they could recycle it, that they were able to get together a group of volunteers to rid these woodlands of plastic for good.
Jadzia, thank you. Now, it is almost 10 to 7. This is our top story tonight. Our MPs are preparing to make one of the most profound decisions of their political careers: how to vote on the assisted dying bill. If it becomes law, the bill will give adults with a terminal illness the right to seek medical help to end their lives. Also in tonight's programme, lighting the way through winter, Wakehurst's Lantern Trail opens, wowing the crowds in Sussex.
And it's been a cold, bright day today with more sunshine for tomorrow. I'll have the details for you a little later in the programme.
And if you've got a story for us, we always love to hear from you. Send us an email, southeasttoday@bbc.co.uk, or you can get in touch on WhatsApp. You can use that number on the screen or just scan that QR code. Now, it was famously the inspiration for Winnie the Pooh's magical home, the 100-acre wood. And now, Ashdown Forest in Sussex is the backdrop for an exhibition of stunning new photographs. Craig Payne's pictures capture the flora and fauna of this ancient woodland in all its glory, with proceeds from book and ticket sales helping to secure the forest's future. Claudia Sabasis has more.
From season to season, the heathland changes. From dusk till dawn, Craig Payne captures the ever-evolving forest.
So this is one of my favourite views from Ashdown Forest. We're looking south towards the South Downs with this incredible carpet of heather. At the moment it's all brown, but if you can imagine it in the height of summer, this is gorgeous purples and lilacs. I can be up on the forest sort of 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, seeing that first sunrise. The animals are still all asleep, and there's no noise from the cars, and it's absolutely sort of peaceful and blissful.
And the colours of the heather, my goodness, I love these purples and lilacs, mauves, whatever you call it. I mean, they're gorgeous.
And these are all completely natural to how they were in real life as well.
Craig has been enjoying the forest since childhood. He wants to help others enjoy it too, so half of the exhibition profits will go to the Ashdown Forest Foundation, and they have a plan to make it more accessible.
We're hoping that we have an accessible walkway and then a platform where people can look across it. As you can see behind me, the forest is a very beautiful place at any time of the year. And what Craig's pictures do is capture that beauty really, really well.
This is one of my favourite trees on the forest. It's in Wren's Warren Valley. So if we look into the valley here, this is actually looking into what A.A. Milne would know as the Gloomy Place, which is where Eeyore lived. But this is a real favourite tree of mine. As we can see, I photographed it in the 4 seasons, and it sort of sums up just what Ashdown Forest is through the seasons.
The exhibition opens at the Visitors Centre at the weekend and runs until January. Claudia Sabasis, BBC South East Today, Ashdown Forest.
Magical. Now, he's one of rugby's greatest characters, but the former England star Joe Marler has announced he'll play his last ever match tomorrow night before retiring from the sport. Born and bred in Sussex. He started out at Eastbourne Rugby Club, but his talent was soon spotted by professional side Harlequins. Marler made his debut there in 2009 and he stayed ever since, making 285 appearances for the London club. And he's had a glittering international career, earning 95 international caps for England and winning 3 Six Nations championships. At the age of 34, he says, the time has come to finally jump off the roller coaster. Here's our sports reporter, James Dunn.
Joe Marler signing off.
A giant player with an even bigger personality. Tomorrow, Joe Marler finally calls time on an incredible career, entertaining fans on the pitch and off it.
It is great. It was brilliant. What a laugh we had, eh?
When the game went professional, we wondered if there was going to be the end of characters, and then along comes Joe. The Mohicans have been absolutely amazing, but his highlights have been his ability to play against the very best teams in the world. And he's in a position in the front row where you get incredibly exposed if you're not strong enough, if you're not mentally hard enough.
After 12 years with England, Joe Marler announced his retirement from international rugby earlier this month.
I feel very sad, but very proud.
At club level, he started at Quins in 2009 and never left. Tomorrow, his distinguished career ends at their home ground, the Stoop, but this is where it began.
Put the ball in his hands, and he was like a wrecking ball. He had no fear with tackling, no fear with knocking people over, and that was really his attribute towards the game, though. But potential at that age is always difficult to say, but if you ask me then, in the future, will he put on an England shirt? My answer would have been no.
Joe Marler spent 7 years playing here before moving on to Harlequins, and though his career comes to an end tomorrow, that pathway still exists, because this small community club, where all of the coaches are volunteers, has produced 6 players currently in the Harlequins Academy.
For the younger players coming through across the county, let alone here in Eastbourne with the 250 minis, colts and youth we have, it's aspirational, isn't it? You look at somebody who started here and you think, you can do that.
What he's achieved and where he's been, Joe has never stopped phoning me up, asking me, keep in touch with me. And that's Joe. He would never forget the people that helped him along the way.
I'm meant to be coaching, but I don't know how to coach.
Even while playing, he's managed to set up a successful podcast and used his profile to speak out about men's mental health. With a character like his, who knows what's next for Joe Marler? James Dunn, BBC South East Today, Eastbourne.
Now, there are just 27 sleeps until Christmas. How terribly exciting. And across the southeast, those lights are starting to twinkle. Wakehurst near Crawley has one of the most spectacular displays. Its Glow Wild Lantern Trail opens to the public today. We sent Chrissy Reedy along to catch some festive feels.
When night falls, something magical happens at Wakehurst. Littered with lanterns, the botanical garden illuminates the night sky. This year's Glow Wild installation celebrates the magnificent world of trees.
We're celebrating the hidden wonders, hidden secrets of trees. And we're very blessed here at Wakehurst to have magnificent tree collections. So we're lighting them up, and we've given that idea to artists to play with. Because, oh gosh, there's so much to say about trees, because, yeah, they're the oxygen that we breathe, aren't they? They symbolise all the connectedness between nature, between all things.
4,000 handmade lanterns line the woodland trail, all made by the local community.
There's a real sense of wild about this. Beautiful handmade lanterns made by our volunteers over a whole year just creates this incredible atmosphere.
Under wraps for the past 2 years of restoration, the Elizabethan mansion now glows with mythical creatures.
I've been coming for years here with a family, and I thought this year Mansion House, the way it's lit up, was outstanding. We said Christmas has begun.
What can you see? Owl, deers, foxes, badgers. It looked really realistic, and I liked how the colours blended in.
It's so magical, and I feel like even as an adult it's amazing, but I can't imagine as a child just how special it feels.
For me it's like coming to a spa. It's very relaxing, the sensory experience, it just makes me feel really calm and very festive.
Magical and mystical, this community celebration is a time to reflect and wander in nature. Chrissy Reedy, BBC South East Today, Wakehurst.
Ah, well, we had a bit of a winter wonderland this morning with all the frost out there, didn't we, Rachel? What's happening next?
Well, exactly. This weather keeps us guessing, doesn't it? Yes, first thing this morning, there was a touch of frost, a little bit foggy and misty in places. And by the afternoon, well, yes, it was a little bit cold, but lots of sunshine. A beautiful afternoon. Of course, it was dry too. Now we're going to be staying dry and sunny as we head over into tomorrow as well. And good news, those chilly northerly winds are going to be swinging to a slightly milder southerly direction. So for tomorrow, yes, it will be a cold start, perhaps again a touch of frost in more rural spots. Generally, it's going to be a touch milder. Still feeling chilly, but by the afternoon, temperatures creeping up in values, and that's thanks to some blustery southeasterly winds. Now, the reason for all this calm weather, we've got high pressure in control of things into tonight. Initially, temperatures will be dropping below freezing, but then towards the early hours of tomorrow morning, actually rising as the winds go from a northerly back to a southerly direction. So as we start the day for Friday, those temperatures hovering at around 1 or 2 degrees. Now also, as those winds pick up, we shouldn't be seeing as much mist and fog as last night, and any that we do see should clear in the first part of the morning. And once again, by the afternoon, for many of us, clear blue skies, and even where you see that higher cloud, is just turning the sunshine hazy. Of course, we're dry, temperatures creeping up. Today we had highs of around 5 or 6, and for tomorrow, more like 8 or 9. Now, as we head from Friday over into Saturday, we'll start to see that cloud cover thickening, and it's going to be quite a mild picture overnight. Those southerly winds picking up, and overnight temperatures only dropping to around 5 or 6 degrees. Lots of cloud around, and that sets the tone for quite an overcast and dull day for Saturday. Now, by the afternoon, temperatures really mild for the time of year, reaching highs around 12 or 13 degrees. It will be quite breezy along the coast, but generally those winds are going to be easing off. And then as we go from Saturday over into Sunday, another mild picture. Saturday should be mostly dry. You might just see a little bit of patchy drizzle in places, but over into Sunday, 1 or 2 blustery scattered showers around. Again, pretty mild though. Similar story for Monday. Then that system clears out of the way and we're colder with the sunshine coming back by Tuesday. So over the next couple of days, lots of sunshine for tomorrow. A mild, mostly dry weekend. Some rain by Sunday, but for tomorrow, lots of sunshine. Wrap it warm and enjoy it.
Mild start to
Yes.
December. Got your advent calendar ready?
Yeah, of course, obviously.
Thank you, Rachel. That's it from Rachel and me and everyone. Charlie Rose is back at 10:30. Bye-bye.